All right. Welcome, everyone. IOT201. Thanks for making it here. And it's a good middle of the week. Hope you're all having a good conference. My name is Shyam Krishnamoorthy. I'm the general manager for the Consumer IoT and Connectivity team at AWS, focusing on the Internet of Things. I've been in the team for almost 8 years now. Really enjoy the diversity that the Internet of Things has, and I suspect a lot of you are working on different parts, either as customers or as partners, and participating in building solutions for the Internet of Things. So today, we're going to talk about innovation and IoT and how you can use that to differentiate your product, how our customers can actually use that to delight their customers. So this connection between differentiation, innovation, and delight is what we're going to explore. We're going to talk about some real examples. One of the really cool things about IoT is how the physical and the digital worlds come together, right? And so I'm really excited and thrilled that we will have Boaz Brudner, who is the head of SaaS, AI, and architecture at Innovate, an Autodesk company, and Eric Schultz, who's the VP of product management at Trend Micro. They'll be talking to us in actually implementing as experts this innovation, both for the physical world and in the digital world. So really excited about that. The way we're going to walk through today is we'll start with sort of the why, the what, and the how. Like, why does customer delight matter? Why does innovation matter? What does it mean to differentiate? Let's talk about some examples. We'll talk about what are the challenges, what makes it hard, and then we'll talk a little bit about like how you can actually overcome those challenges. We'll walk through some examples. I'll go over some of the new features that can hopefully help you in your acceleration journey that we've added to AWS IoT in the last few months, including some as recent as 2 days ago. And at the end, we'll make it all concrete. What can you do if you're a customer or a partner to participate, innovate, and delight your customers, and of course, grow your business? So we're going to start with, somebody told me you should put a quote in your slides. So I said I did, but we're going to go a little different here. This was this quote that I found interesting. Inventions have long since reached their limit, and I see no hope for further development. No hope at all, right? And I'm here to reassure you that in spite of what Julius said 2,000 years ago, he is wrong. Humans will continue to want to do things differently. Better, faster, more safe, and we're here to support all of you in that journey. We have been innovating. We've seen customers really change the physical world for the better in IoT in many different ways. And so we're going to unpack this notion of, okay, Julius is wrong. What does it mean to innovate? And so I want to start by a prompt for all of you, right? Think about maybe the last 6 months to a year, some product you've used, some service you've used that gave you joy, something that you found delightful, innovative. And think about what was it? What made it innovative and delightful for you, right? What aspects of that? What are the elements that caused it to be delightful? And I suspect the answer is going to be across a spectrum. Some of you are going to have the rational, well, here are the 5 reasons why this was delightful to use, and A, B, C, D, E. And others are going to say, well, can't really put a finger on it. There's sort of this soul, this magic that you've got to have. You either have it or not. It's an art, not a science. And I think they're both true, right? It's true that there's a lot of domain expertise and finesse and polish that goes into creating that magical customer experience and customer delight that a lot of you in your own companies, you're domain experts in, whether it's water management with Boaz or security with Eric, and all of you are bringing your own domain expertise, and that is an essential part. But there's also a lot of durable truths. There are things that are true independent of the domain, and that's what we're going to talk about, because you can use these as tenets for innovation and think about, okay, how can I deliver these to my customers? So what are these? And you'll see these as recurring themes. I see this every time I talk to customers, what they're doing and innovating in IoT is, first thing, it just works, right? You don't want to have that friction of having to meddle with a gazillion steps before it works. And so that seamlessness, again, I'm not stating this is not rocket science, right? This is obvious, but if you use that structure, it actually motivates and inspires a lot of customer delight and the innovation that supports that customer delight. Customers always want to save money. If any of you don't want to save money, I have an island in the Bahamas I would like to buy off of somebody else's money here. improves quality of life using smart data insights, right? So one of the things that IoT helps and a lot of technology helps is it actually allows us to make the physical world, which is usually static, and once it's made, that's how it is, richer and more useful and more productive and helpful for us as humans with that data that you can collect about the environment. And we'll talk through some examples of that. And lastly, it adapts to my evolving needs. We are able to now make the physical world better automatically over time. And so these 4 elements, if you think about how can I take these elements to my customers, whatever business you're in, and how can I apply IoT and these elements, well, you build customer trust, right? And if you don't, you're probably going to have competitors lapping at your heels, and you're going to have a business risk. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I'll start with a personal example. One of the first IoT devices that I had at home was Ratio, customer of ours, and they make connected smart sprinklers for the home. So my backyard, my front yard, we've got different watering zones, and I had a more traditional sprinkler. And using AWS IoT, they were able to offload sort of the functional parts, the scalability, and they saved time and money. But that's just the outcome for the business. What did that lead to? And that's what I want to go back and focus on. It led to customer delight. I would give it a 10 on 10 because for me, it took me 10 minutes. That just works. They were able to focus on a getting started experience that was seamless. It took me 10 minutes for it to set up. No change. The same wires that were in my previous sprinkler panel just plugged into the right sockets in the new Ratio, and it kept working. It saves me money, and it uses smart data insights. So if it's rained, as it often does in Seattle, then the next day, it's not going to actually water the plants because it's connected, and it's merging that data and the insights from weather forecasts with what it's seeing in my watering schedule and saving me money. And they see a bug, they have over-the-air updates, and they're able to fix it and give me a great experience. So those tenets lead into these products. They save time by using AWS, but they're able to use that saved time to really delight those customers. A few more examples. We work closely with one of our customers, Wise, that makes smart cameras. Some of you may have them. And using AWS IoT and KVS, they were able to get quite a bit of reduction in time to market for each of their generation of products. But that saving they could then use to create differentiated value for their customers. So they've got unique differentiation. So Bissell, they make cleaning products, and they were able to get API latency, scalability improvements, and they were able to take those gains and focus on delivering customer value, which was custom cleaning zones. Easy was able to get development cost savings, which they were then able to put back into product improvements and build customer trust on their side. So overall, you see this sort of mapping of this two-step. They get benefits, and they're able to pass that on into customer delight and innovation on their side. And we've got lots of customers across many different domains doing that. And you might recognize yourself in one of these many different boxes because people are innovating in smart home, medical, energy, and many more domains. So IoT is everywhere. Sometimes it's invisible, but you see it really improving. And so what you can do is you can have that improved customer experience. So the idea here is that you can improve your customer experience, and as a business benefit, you get to increase revenue, save operational expenditures, and accelerate your innovation, which spins back that flywheel of innovation for your customers, right? But it's not easy. There are lots of challenges, and the thing with IoT is that it actually takes many different pieces to come together to make that IoT happen, all the way from building the product, the physical product, design, manufacturing, processing data at the edge. How do you actually send that data to the cloud? How do you connect it? How do you collect that data? How do you analyze it? And next is how do you actually unlock those insights, manage those devices, and really have a scalable, whether you have, you might start with 10 devices, but when you get to a 10 million devices, how do you make sure you can manage all of those? And so that's where AWS IoT comes in. Our job is to take sort of the things that are common to all of these and help you focus on the things that you can do to differentiate for your customers. So let's start with the design, manufacturing, and edge processing. We have a range of capabilities that allow customers to really build secure, connected edge products more easily. For example, we've got, if you're running a sensor-based device, so these are microcontroller devices, low power, they're controlling devices, they're collecting temperature, and so on and so forth. We have a full operating system. It's open source, integrated with AWS, or you can use it with your own on-prem equipment and then send that data to AWS. We have Greengrass, which is a runtime for microprocessors and gateway class devices with a wide range of libraries for the edge. We have ExpressLink that actually makes it super easy to add connectivity to connected devices, because traditionally you used to add, say, a wireless module or a cellular module to build a connected device. ExpressLink actually allows you to do that without having to actually write the code against it, because all of our libraries are packaged into the physical module itself. We work with a range of module partners to create that. And of course, we have SDKs and clients that allow you to write your own applications that talk to the AWS cloud. So our goal, starting from, okay, let's start at the edge, make it easier for you to build connected, safe products by providing software and services that focus on the edge. Let's dive into a couple of these. ExpressLink is as I said, a module, but what it does is it takes away all the effort of programming against libraries. If you want over-the-air updates, it has that integrated with AWS. And we'll talk about a few more things we've added to ExpressLink shortly. If you want to provision the device, well, ExpressLink has an easy way of provisioning that device. So effectively, it offloads all of the difficult programming challenges on the edge into a module that we manage and we work with our vendors to provide. And you, as an embedded engineer, you're just essentially adding the wireless module like you would, except instead of sending the data to the module, it just shows up in the cloud. Greengrass, when we talk about larger systems at the edge, say gateways and edge processors, allows you to really have full local processing at the edge, as well as being a aggregator that can send that data to the cloud. So it has local messaging, message broker there. It has over-the-air updates. It has plugins for machine learning, Kinesis video, and so many more integrations. And it's got a full range of community packages and our extensible modules built by Amazon and our partners. So with Greengrass and ExpressLink, you can really make it easy to build connected, secure edge products. Great. That's one piece of that IoT puzzle. What about then connecting to the cloud? So you've got to send that data. You've got to register these to make sure that these are trusted devices that can connect to the cloud. We need to process that data and analyze it. And so we've got a range of services that help you with that. IoT Core, some of you may be familiar with, is the first service that we started with. And it's sort of the heart that connects all of this wide world of millions and millions of IoT devices to the power of the rest of the cloud. So we've got identity. We've got a core message gateway that can speak multiple different protocols, and then connect these devices that are often low power, speaking custom protocols, to the power of the rest of the cloud. We've got a message broker that allows devices to message between each other or with applications. We've got a rules engine that really integrates it to all the other AWS services, from databases to machine learning and so on and so forth, and many more capabilities. And last but not least, we even have custom services so that if you're using LoRaWAN, long-range connectivity, which is not a standard TCP/IP connection, you can actually run LoRa gateways, connect them to our cloud using the standard protocol that LoRa has, and then send that data to AWS. So multiple services, both on the physical connectivity front and the cloud connectivity front, to make it easy for IoT devices to connect to the cloud. So IoT Core is sort of this entry point into the world of AWS services. And last but not least, once you've got devices out there, so you've built a safe and secure device, you've got cloud services that they can connect to, what do you do with them, right? Well, you have to manage them. You have to be able to diagnose them. If they're real in production and customers have problems, you have to be able to get logs. You have to be able to defend and secure them. And so we have a range of services for that as well. So IoT device management has ways where you can organize your fleet of 10 devices or 10 million devices in many different ways. If I want to say, which devices are in Washington State or which devices are in my beta pilot, and you can organize these, you can query it based on search parameters, you can group them and send it actions to do using device jobs. And we also have device logging and monitoring services. So the entire range of being able to manage these devices in production has a lot of common elements, independent, again, of the domain you're in. And so we build a lot of these foundational services that really take that effort off your plate. Secure tunneling is an interesting one. We'll talk a little bit more about it. But if you think about managing a fleet of, say, 10,000 devices out there, and customer calls in, there's a problem, and an operator wants to go find out what's the issue, secure tunneling allows you, right from the cloud, to tunnel safely and securely back into the device, diagnose it, and fix it without having to do an on-site visit. And for security, we have a custom service called Device Defender. And what it does is both audits your configuration in the cloud. So if you've got configuration that may make it less secure, we can alert you. You can also send metrics, both metrics that we already know in the cloud, like how many messages are being processed, or custom metrics that you might be collecting from your device, and then set rules or even machine learning models to say, tell me if there's an anomaly. I've got a fleet of devices, maybe those are TVs or set-top boxes, but normally they make 10 connections out from each device. Suddenly you see that they're making 10,000. Maybe they've been taken over and they're being used for a bot attack. And you can immediately take action. You can get alerted. You can quarantine these devices. So we've got services that help you really secure those. So that sort of is the full range. And then we wrap it all together into a service called Fleet Hub, which allows operators to visualize, okay, here's my fleet. I can see it. I can manage it. And it gives you a single stop where not just the AWS developer who's logging in on the console, but the individual operators who are using it can actually log in and manage their fleet on Fleet Hub. So how does this all come together, right? So the key here is we want to provide the widest range of foundational services that allow you to put IoT devices together from the edge to the cloud. Make it easy to build devices, make it easy to connect and secure them, and make it easy to manage them. I also want to call out a few services that I didn't talk about: TwinMaker, SiteWise, FleetWise, Analytics, because we've got a range of products also focused on how do we make it easier for specific vertical segments that have unique requirements, such as automotive. FleetWise is specialized to make sense of automotive data and draw meaning from it. SiteWise and Analytics help you understand and process industrial data and manufacturing facilities. TwinMaker allows you to get a semantic understanding of the world, both visually and in knowledge models with a knowledge graph. So a full range of services to make it easy, but let's come back to how does it all come together in terms of helping you with innovation. You can have devices that are doing agriculture, healthcare, home appliances, and so on. They could connect directly to the cloud. They might be connecting through routers and controllers that are running Greengrass. And they then connect to the cloud, get the power of the rest of AWS through IoT, machine learning, database, and compute. And then you focus really on that customer delight and innovation on your applications, your dashboards, your customers, and that customer delight. So that's sort of what we were going to talk about. And this is all not just vaporware. We have it for many years. We've got tens of thousands of customers being able to use it successfully at scale, and with hundreds of millions of devices every day, 45 billion messages processed, and a great partner network as well. Partners really help us because IoT is not sort of a single-person show, right? You need a lot of things to come together, from hardware to software to services. And so we have a great partner network. They work on our hardware. They work on integrating these pieces together. And so we've got competency partners, many qualified devices as well. And so you'll see many of these companies with recognizable logos up here using us, and many more. But I could keep blathering on about what we have, or you can hear from the real people who actually use the service and are generating value from the edge to the cloud. So first up, Boaz. Really great to have you here, and we can talk about the physical world and the innovation there. Thank you.
Thank you, Shyam, for that great overview. So Innovise has been a trusted innovator in the water space for over 30 years. We've been building software for water professionals for all of that time to provide our customers with the ability to deal with the entire water cycle, from the point that water reaches the ground all the way to the point where water is processed in the water or wastewater treatment plants. And that goes through water structures, storm, sewer, and flood modeling, drainage design, green infrastructure, and then back through water distribution from the source to people's homes, and then back through the sewer systems, and then to the collection systems. We deal with 3 different layers of that entire process in terms of software. The first one is design and hydraulic modeling. So the ability for our customers to figure out how to design these water infrastructures, simulate how water would behave in those systems, and then do sort of analysis of what the impact of their changes will impact the actual performance. The second thing is asset management. Managing the assets of those water systems is a crucial part of our customers' day-to-day work. So making sure that pipes work effectively, they're not leaking, they're not breaking, making sure that pumps and reservoirs do the things that they need to do in order to provide service to their customers. And then lastly, which is very much relevant to what we will talk about today, is operational analytics, based largely on artificial intelligence or augmented by artificial intelligence. This is set of software capabilities that we provide our customers to operate their infrastructure. So think about water utilities that need to operate large-scale water infrastructure to bring water from the source to people's homes, infrastructure to get sewer back from people's homes, factories, and so forth, back to where it needs to be treated, and then also wastewater and water treatment plants. They need to operate these complex systems. So at Innovise, we always look at the problems that our customers have and work backwards from that. So think about water as a whole. Our customers need to maintain service quality for their customers, and we need to help them do that with our software. So with that, we have a set of asset management software that allows them to manage their various different water assets in the best way. Water scarcity is becoming more and more of an issue and will continue to be a major factor for the world. So our customers want help with reducing leakage and major pipe breaks within their water networks. And lastly, regulations. To sort out the problems that I just mentioned, regulators are going in and regulating this environment, adding rules and principles of what is allowed to be done, what kind of water can be spilled back to the environment, what's the level of service they provide to their customers, and so forth. And throughout the world, we are seeing regulation going in and regulating this environment. So we need to make sure and provide our customers with the ability to monitor and report the actions that they do, the operations of their system in an historical manner and in real-time manner so that they can best fulfill these regulations. So now that Innovise is part of Autodesk, I wanted to just go over and just briefly talk about the actual products that we offer to our customers. On the left side, these have been the bread and butter of Innovise for many years. These are desktop applications that are now gradually getting more and more benefits from the cloud. So solutions for drainage, storm sewer flood, and water distribution. Our customers love them. They've been using them for years. And about 3 years ago, Innovise set about to expand this set of services and great products with SaaS-based solutions that our customers could use. The first one is Info360 Asset. This is an asset management product, all in the cloud, built from the ground up for asset managers, they are able to inspect their infrastructure or to collect information about their infrastructure, figure out which components of that infrastructure need to be dealt with first. For example, which pipes in my sewer system needs to be replaced in the next year, because based on prior knowledge and other factors, we believe that this has a good chance of breaking. The second two pieces of products are Info360 Insight, which is a water utility or a water network operation analytics geared towards operators of these infrastructure. So this provides the ability for an operator to figure out what is happening at any given point and operate to that. And just recently, the newest comer to this family of products, Info360 Plant, that does the same thing that Info360 Insight, but for plant operators, water and wastewater treatment plants. So with that today, I wanted to zoom in on one of those just to talk through what we do with IoT Core. So this one will be Info360 Insight, although everything that I mentioned here actually applies to Info360 Plant and to the large extent some of our other products. So with that, when we set about to build Info360 Insight, we had a number of different factors that we wanted to make sure are fulfilled within our product. We wanted to make sure that we can connect live and historical performance data. And when I talk about that, I talk about sensor data and information from the edge devices that our customers have. We need to be able to visualize what is happening at any given point in that network of water and to create reports and real-time dashboard. With that, we built Info360 Insight. And Info360 Insight allows our customers to minimize their energy cost, reduce water loss and leakage, manage incidents as they occur, providing the best course of action. So as an example, let's say a water utility gets a phone call that a major pipe burst has occurred. They are able to simulate the impact of this action. So how many customers are going to be impacted? Which specific customers are going to be impacted by that? Which valves need to be shut in order to isolate that specific area that is leaking? And then based on these valves that were closed, which again, customers are going to be impacted and for how long? And also report and communicate the data that is associated with any part of their network. And as you can see, this requires a lot of data about sensors and telemetry that occurs within the infrastructure of the water utility. But there's a real challenge here. And when we set about looking into that, we realize that there is a major challenge. Usually, water utilities have closed sensor data systems. These systems take on sensor data from edge components such as reservoirs, such as pumps, such as fill meters and so forth, and they flow that back into SCADA systems, so internal systems that collect that data. Then, in most cases, they store that data in what we call historians, which are generally types of SQL servers or other types of time series data. That data is very much guarded because it's highly sensitive for that water utility. But at the same time, it's high volume. There's a lot of data there that we need to figure out somehow how to get that in a secure way to the cloud, near real time, and make sure that we do it in the easiest way for our customers. They don't need to deal with that with a lot of infrastructure. They don't need to deal with a lot of software. And as Shyam mentioned, we just need to make sure it just works. So we went with AWS IoT. We built our entire platform and products on AWS. And AWS IoT really fit the bill there. So what did we do? To get that data out of the water utility from their on-prem systems, we took AWS Greengrass, packaged that with additional components that we built on top of that, and now our customers can go to their dashboard within Info360 Insight, download a fully executable solution, they install it on a virtual machine, configure that to pick up the information that they need, so the telemetry data that they need, provide the access criteria for these systems, and from that point on, securely and effectively through Kinesis Firehose and IoT Core, the data is streamed to Info360 in the cloud. We've realized that this solution has minimized our efforts by about 60%. We didn't need to build the undifferentiated heavy lifting of getting telemetry data to the cloud. And also, what we always like is the entire set of services are serverless. We do not need to patch system. We do not need to upgrade them. Our DevOps team is dealing with work for the future, but not dealing with work in the past that needs to be patched and upgraded. Thank you for that, and I'll hand it over to Shyam. Thank you.
Thank you, Boaz. And it's a really great example. Just love the example. First, real world physical impact. All of us need water. They help us make it cleaner, safer, and better managed. And love to see the connection between them saving time and being able to use that time back into delighting their customers. Next, we go from the sort of the physical world into the virtual world, that I'd like to invite Eric. Thank you, Eric. We'll talk about Trend Micro and the world of virtual innovation.
Thank you, Shyam. So my name is Eric Schultz from Trend Micro. If you haven't heard of Trend Micro before, we are a cybersecurity company. We've been in business about 35 years now. 500,000 plus customers globally in 200 plus countries, including pretty much the majority of the Fortune 500 globally in some way, shape, or form. We're about 7,000 plus people globally, so we are very well distributed across a globe. And then we've got a number of accolades and competencies that we've worked very closely with AWS. And last one that we just added yesterday on here, this year AWS recognized us as the global partner of the year for AWS marketplaces. Thank you, thank you. So customers being able to purchase and procure our software and our services through the AWS marketplace with less friction, so helping that. Let's talk about the problems we set out to solve with IoT and why we went with IoT. So we wanted a modern, scalable cloud networking for our client server, right? So we have agents installed on many systems in many enterprises, so your desktop, laptops, servers, and we wanted to offload some of the functionality that wasn't our core value to our customers. Our core value was security, not agent management, agent upgrading, agent communications. So we wanted to be able to offload that agent provisioning, but also handling the bidirectional data transfer. That's really key in ours because now, if you've never heard of the term EDR, endpoint detection and response, think of it like a security camera on your laptop or server, and it's collecting all of that information. So we have a lot of volume, or a large volume of data going back to the cloud. We also wanted to be able to support 100 million agents. It's not a small number, so we needed scale to handle that, especially if we wanted to offload a lot of these core functionalities. And finally, we've got a large multi-million agents deployed globally at our customers. We needed an easy way to integrate it into our existing architecture as we move to it. We can't just flip the switch because customers don't upgrade their agents or upgrade their operating systems overnight. We can't just do a global rollout in one day. It takes months, if not years, to get customers to fully update. So if we look at our architecture, our original architecture was a SaaS monolith running inside of AWS that we owned and managed. We've got the client server devices that are on our customer sites. And we were sending all of the configuration and event data through EC2 instances. So we had EC2 nodes behind load balancers running our application, and then they would interact with the database, a very common architecture design for client server. Today, we are in what I'll call a SaaS hybrid, where we have the client server, we still have that, but we've added IoT to offload the high volume EDR telemetry and event data. So the high volume data that we need to get to the cloud as fast as we can, but also at a lower friction there. Ultimately, we couldn't push that through that left side on the right, on the left, the configuration data channel, because it just wouldn't scale. It just wouldn't scale for us. Today alone, we have 70 plus clusters of EC2 instances just to support our current customer base. We couldn't scale that without driving our costs up, which then means we drive our customer costs up, just in pure operational costs alone. So we chose to offload a lot of that to AWS. So where we are today, right? So we take a look at where we are today. Where we're going, though, is this is our ultimate goal right now. So now that we've been working with IoT for a while, we see the power of it. We're expanding it even more. And we want to move all of our configuration and event data over IoT. So basically, removing all of those other functionalities on the EC2 instance pools, because we found the value of IoT, it allows us to run faster, it lowers our costs, which ultimately allows us to provide more value to our customers at a better price. So if I go to why, just to kind of close that out, AWS IoT, we view it as cloud native, so it's been very good for scalability for us. Like I said, they handle the scale, the agent server retry, the connection security, the authentication of the agents, all of that's been offloaded to AWS IoT instead of us having to manage that inside of our application. We've enabled our internal teams to run faster, which means we can then build new security value, our core competency, and provide more value to our customers to delight our customers with more security value, like I said, our core competency. We also can communicate with more agents efficiently. So it's actually cheaper for us to operate the service with IoT because I can send a job to multiple servers or multiple agents at the same time, where before I had to do a job for each individual agent. So at scale, this has helped us a lot. And finally, just a shameless plug, if you want to learn more, I'm gonna go much deeper into our journey of how we've moved to IoT. Shyam will be joining me on stage for that. PTR 327, tomorrow in Encore, I will be going much deeper into our journey of adopting IoT, the wins, the limitations, et cetera. And with that, thank you, Shyam, for inviting me to join you, and turn it back to you.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you. Love a couple of connections in there. Security, I mean, Trend Micro as a leader in security augments and enhances the thing that we think of all the time, which is like that edge to cloud. Every piece of it needs to be secure, right? And the second thing is this whole notion of serverless. So IoT and serverless will go really well together as a design pattern. You'll see that devices and the physical world is often event-based, right? Nothing happens for a while, and then something happens. And so serverless technologies really allow you to not have to think about managing a wide range of infrastructure and scaling up and down. You really focus on that sort of application level programming. Most of IoT services you use, you're not managing your services. They are managed services that you configure with us, put the rules in there, and then we will scale the services underneath. So I want to walk through one more real example of customer trust and delight. And this is from India, where Paytm, a large financial services provider, they provide payment processing units for merchants in India. And very successful. They've got 20 million merchants onboarded, 300 million different customers, like, you know, a large population that is using it very regularly. And so this is a problem of really large scale. And when they were trying to figure out how to actually have the merchant transaction and the retail transactions really smooth and frictionless in stores, including sometimes moving stores. You've got food stalls and so on and so forth that, you know, you'll see on the streets, but they've got Paytm checkout machines in there. And they previously had this static QR code-based mechanism. And the problem with that was customers would not be able to coordinate with the vendor because there's lots of customers in there. Sometimes you miss the unit. Sometimes there was fraud too, whether it was intentional because somebody came in and said, oh, I'll just, you know, because it's the same QR code for everybody, they could just pass off, you know, one charge which is lower as a different charge. But sometimes it's just unintentional. There's a lot of people in there and one code doesn't do it. The merchants also had to sort of confirm it on their mobile phones. It was quite heavy friction. And this caused lack of customer delight for their customers and the merchant adoption. So what they did is they built an IoT product which had a dynamic QR code that would show up and a audio confirmation of that transaction. So this is a wirelessly connected device running on battery that can, for each individual transaction, has a unique QR code that the customer provides. And once it goes through and is successful, it'll give audio confirmation. So the retail vendor doesn't have to be constantly looking between their phone and the goods. They just get the confirmation hands-free and move along. And that really changed the nature of adoption for them. They got 5 times more merchant value and really built that customer trust. If you go back to sort of those tenets, right? Easy to use, we talked about it, it just works. And in this case, it just worked. But they combined that with sort of that deep domain expertise and polish of understanding of, okay, how do the environments in the retail stores work in India, which might be very different from other locations. So bringing that art and science together in customer delight. And of course, happy to say that they were able to use IoT to save a lot of time for themselves, which they could focus on that customer delight. So they use IoT Core, IoT Device Management, Device Defender, and Fleet Hub, the full set of services to really offload a lot of that undifferentiated work. And right now, more than 4 million Soundbox devices are deployed and really has very high customer trust. So very excited about our support for Paytm and their growth in that space as well. So thank you again, Eric and Boaz. I want to jump in here. I think this is sort of a tour of, okay, hopefully you can get inspired into how you can innovate for your customers. We've launched a lot of services. We continuously innovate as well on your behalf. Almost all of what we do is driven by input from all of you as customers. And so I want to walk through a few really cool things that I'm very happy with in the last few months we've launched. First, we'll go back on the edge and software side that helps you build safer, secure connected devices. So with FreeRTOS, we went GA for an extended maintenance plan. So we will support long-term support releases for up to 10 years. Based on your device. IoT devices, they're in the physical world. The physical world changes slowly, and you want that long-term support. And we went GA with that extended maintenance plan. ExpressLink has a new release, version 1.1. And we've added a new vendor, Realtek, who supports and builds another module. So we have 4 modules right now. And brought in Device Defender, Device Shadows, and a simplified claim process into ExpressLink. So again, that module that I said just packages all of your IoT connectivity into a hardware module, now also embeds Device Defender. So again, you don't have to think about individually securing your devices. All of that data is in there, and your operators can go to the dashboard and check out if there are any anomalies from a security perspective. And last, Greengrass has added MQTT version 5 support. I'll talk a little bit more about MQTT version 5 in a subsequent slide, but MQTT version 5 is the latest update to MQTT, makes it much simpler, and there's a EMQX, if I'm saying it right, open source broker that supports MQTT that is now available as part of Greengrass, makes it easier to use, better error handling, more scalability, and clustering support as well. So look for that. Over on the cloud side, and as you connect these devices to the cloud and try to make sense of that data, we've launched a lot of new features. I'm going to skip this slide and dive deep into some of these. The first is MQTT version 5 support is now generally available in our managed cloud broker. So our message gateway and message broker that allow all of these devices has been supporting MQTT 3.1. MQTT version 5 is the latest release, and it really makes a lot of new design patterns easier to handle. From MQTT version 3.1, for those familiar with it, it's a publish-subscribe protocol. MQTT version 5 has all of those capabilities, but it also adds request response for targeted command and control use cases. It adds reason codes that give you detailed error codes, so you can actually have better error handling. It adds topic aliases. So usually IoT devices, they're constrained on something: power, bandwidth, battery. So every byte matters for many IoT devices. And topic aliases allow you to not have to pass a very long topic string on every command. You can just alias it into something super short and send that along, and you've got bandwidth savings. Message and session expiry timeout. So you're saving on persistent messages and so on and so forth, instead of having to store that forever. So new features in MQTT available. There are additional features. MQTT version 5 has many additional things like shared subscriptions. We don't have that as of today, but we will be adding that in the future as well. Next one I want to talk about, again, very excited about this, is device location. So IoT devices, again, they're in the physical world, and location, where these devices are, is a very integral part of building something in the physical world. You think about asset tracking. You think about the map that Boaz showed about all the water facilities. Knowing where devices are, knowing where what's happening with them is key. And we have a separate Amazon location service. But it's great when you know the location and when you want to do business logic on it. But many devices are low power, long-range devices such as LoRaWAN devices, and they may not have a full GPS chip. And one of the great things we can do with the cloud is we can offload some of that computation. So we've partnered with Semtech, who's a leader in the LoRa space, and offers the LoRa Edge cloud services, where they can take GNSS data from their LR1110 chip, for example, which is not full GPS data, but they can triangulate that, and we then convert that to latitude and longitude by converting that. So we call those location solvers. So you provide raw device data, and we'll say, here's where your device is. Similarly, we've worked with MaxMind and here to add additional solvers. So maybe you have a Wi-Fi chip, maybe you have a cellular chip, and you can actually send that raw information to us, and we will provide to you where that device is. So now devices, even if they are very low power, in the cloud, you're now aware of where they're located. And we also work with MaxMind to actually have IP reverse lookup, which is an interesting use case if you want to understand, okay, which state they're in or which district they're in, and being able to look back at addresses with IP reverse lookup is also a useful thing for lots of business logic. And last but not least, we added a rules engine action. As I mentioned before, rules engine allows you to integrate with lots of additional AWS services to Amazon location service. So you can now understand where the device is, send that along to Amazon location service, and in Amazon location service, you can add additional business logic. Amazon location service allows you to have maps with high-quality map data from Esri and here. You can put geofencing rules on it. You can track where they are. You can find out the routes of different devices and actually understand where they are in the physical world with places support as well. So privacy and security, of course, very important with location. So Amazon Location Service has all the controls for that and is cost effective. So between these two services, very excited that we can now get into really unlocking innovation in spaces like asset tracking, logistics, and many other spaces that need location. I talked about device management earlier. A few months ago, we added integration of named shadows and device defender violations into fleet indexing. What does that mean? If you've got custom named properties on your device that you send up through the shadow service, you can actually send that to fleet indexing and query your devices by that. For example, I want to know how many devices in my production fleet have less than 10% battery. Well, you can find that out now, and you can do that query on Fleet Hub because you can integrate named shadows and any battery level with fleet indexing. How many devices have seen a security alert in the last 2 weeks? You can do that. And what we've added just this week is job scheduling. Oftentimes, devices cannot be upgraded just anytime you want. They've got safe times, and you want to be able to say, look, I don't want to send it a job, whether it's a reboot job or a full patch at just whenever the operator thinks about it. But now you can schedule it and say, okay, Saturday between midnight and 2 a.m. is when I actually want to schedule it. We'll follow this up in just a few weeks with additional capabilities to actually set calendars and full schedules as well. So very excited about more control over how you can update devices. And I mentioned secure tunneling earlier, right? So we made that easier to use. First, we reduced the price by 80%, and we kept the same tunnel duration, so customers can just tunnel to devices for 1 hour or 12 hours and continue diagnosing any problems they have at 1/5 the price. Multiple TCP connections, so you might actually have multiple operators working and trying to diagnose the same device. Better security with single-use token and token rotation. And last but not least, one of my favorite features is browser-based SSH to these devices. So oftentimes, our customers told us, like, okay, there's effort they have to do to host a set of EC2 instances or other things where the agent is running, where the operator logs in there and then creates the tunnel. Well, right now, we launched this feature where you can just log into the console and right from there, tunnel to the device and diagnose it. So again, wide range of capabilities. We talked about Defender and security. Very excited to announce that we've integrated that with AWS Security Hub. So AWS Security Hub, as some of you may be familiar, for a lot of AWS customers is sort of the central place where you can look at all your security insights and select some of those, take action on those, and send it over for additional integrations. And so all Defender data will now opt in. You can opt in and say, I want to send this to IoT, to AWS Security Hub. So you have a central single pane of glass for all your security operators. So that is the set of everything we've launched in the last few months. Hopefully, you can use this and all the services we already have when you think about your innovation journey with IoT and how you can delight your customers with those tenets. Let's put it in concrete terms. What can you do next? It depends sort of where you are, right? We've got foundational services, a lot of which I covered today. We've got purpose-built services like FleetWise for automotive or SiteWise for industrial, as I mentioned. And we've also got a wide range of solutions from partners and our internal solution architects as well that put all of these together into sort of prepackaged software and solutions. So you've got marketplace solutions, you've got Amazon solutions as well. So where are you in this sort of spectrum? Because as I said, sometimes you're a device manufacturer and you're actually building that physical device. Sometimes you're maybe a real estate company, you're buying those devices and you're trying to integrate them. So what you might want differs, but we've got the full menu available for you, right? So for example, if you're thinking about the devices side, we work with pretty much all the leading silicon partners and device manufacturers. We have a catalog of over 800 devices that work well with AWS IoT services. When we think about connectivity, that is covered as well. We've got LoRaWAN support. We've got all the regular TCP/IP semantic understanding of MQTT or WebSockets or HTTP. And if you're thinking about, okay, I just want to buy and integrate that into a solution, we've got a range of integrators who are AWS competency partners and who can work with you on putting that together. And last but not least, full plug-and-play packages so that you can say, okay, look, I want a connected mobility solution. I want a connected factory solution. And we've got templates and architectures that can help you put all of these pieces together into a solution. So you can get started with specialists at one end, with our solution architects, or do professional services. You can work with partners. So a lot of IoT services are listed in the AWS marketplace. Or you can directly build with the AWS services, the foundational services that I talked about. And there's a solution repository as well you can check out on our website, the IoT solution repository that lists all of these as well. So that is pretty much what I had to share today. The last prompt is, how are you going to differentiate and delight your customers? Going back to those themes, just very simple, no rocket science. But if you use that and prompt yourself, what can you do? Sometimes these evolutionary questions result in revolutionary answers. I'm continue to be super thrilled about the possibility that IoT can have in improving our physical world. So thank you, and many thanks to Eric and Boaz as well, our speakers. Thank you. Repository as well you can check out on our website, the IoT solution repository that lists all of these as well. So that is pretty much what I had to share today. The last prompt is, how are you going to differentiate and delight your customers? Going back to those themes, just very simple, no rocket science. But if you use that and prompt yourself, what can you do? Sometimes these evolutionary questions result in revolutionary answers. I'm continue to be super thrilled about the possibility that IoT can have in improving our physical world. So thank you, and many thanks to Eric and Boaz as well, our speakers.